Welcome back to Turning Hard Times into Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm really pleased to have with me my good friend, Al Korelin. Many of you probably know Al Korelin from the KE Report, the Korelin Economics Report. If you don't know him from that, you should, and go there. It's the KEReport.com. It's a wonderful site with lots of actually daily interviews that are put up there and discussions. What I like about Al's site as much as anything is that you can go on there and comment on what you just heard, and there's a very active commentary from listeners that are exchanging ideas. And Al himself is frequently on there talking and interacting with people. So it's the interaction of the KE Report, along with some excellent guests. He has a daily show that he has there every day. He also has a weekend show where many different guests are there. So I strongly suggest that you go to the KEReport.com. I'm not going to read Al's bio because we have so little time, but his bio is posted at the Voice America Business Channel on my page on the website there. So go there to learn more about Al. But Al and I have been good friends for many years, having to do with our involvement in the mining industry, and so it's really good to have Al with me. Al and I are starting to exchange content with our websites. I'm going to be sending things Al's way, and Al will be sending things over to Jay Taylor Media as well. Welcome, Al. It's really good to have you with me again.
Hey, Jay, it's a real pleasure. Listen, I want to take up the offer that the lady made prior to our conversation, and that is, if you have any questions, go to Jay Taylor at Media, whatever the address was. But I have a question for you, Jay, and yeah. I'm going to ask you the question, and I'm going to put down my headset, so I'm going to go play golf. What's the meaning? What is the meaning of the world, Jay?
What is the meaning of the world? No, Al, I didn't. Listen, now you have to remember, Al, that you are the guest here, right? And
okay,
you're the one
you got a deal, Jay.
You're the one that's on the hot seat now.
You got it.
No, it's not meant to be a hot seat. Tell our listeners, what are you trying to accomplish with the KE Report? What is your goal?
Well, Jay, what we're trying to accomplish on the KE Report, and I think we're being pretty successful at it, is we're trying to further the philosophy that you never want to listen to just one person. Mm-hmm. You want to get as many opinions on any given subject, particularly finance, which is what we have a tendency to focus on, as I know you do. You want to get as many opinions as you possibly can, and at that point, make up your own mind. Don't just listen to one person. That is kind of a lose-type situation.
Well, you certainly do have a lot of people on your site. You have some technical analysts, too, I think 3 or 4 of them. Would you just comment briefly on who they are? And generally speaking, Al, since our focus is so much on gold and silver and commodities, what is the general feeling of your technical analyst at this time?
Well, right now, the consensus among Gary Savage and Dr. Richard Postma and certainly Avi Gilbert of the ElliottWaveTrader.com and Rick Ackerman is that we're kind of in a wait-and-see mode in terms of gold. I think if I were to summarize what everybody feels is that 2016 could be a great year for gold, but probably not much will happen without the event of a major black swan, which could certainly happen, within the next hour anyway, the way things are going. Probably not much will happen until 2016. At that point, cycle theory indicates that we may have a bit of a breakout.
All right. Well, just tell people at the KE Report, there's the weekend shows, Al's Insights, Corey's Insights. Your partner, tell us a little bit about your partner, Al, there, Corey Fleck.
Well, Corey Fleck is a gentleman who I met, a young man, I guess I should say, who I met probably about 5 years ago. I met Corey through his stepfather, Yale Simpson, who's been a colleague of mine for probably 25 or 30 years. And having said that, Corey has a very interesting background. He grew up in the resource industry. He went on to university, graduated from, if I'm not mistaken, St. Andrews University in North Carolina, and became a chartered accountant in Canada, for lack of a better term, CPA in the United States. He's one of the best analysts who I have ever met for somebody his age, and he is slowly in the process of inheriting our program. I'm going to tell you, he's going to do a great job. Very personable young man and a very bright young man.
Well, he does a great job already, Al. And one of the things I think makes your weekend shows in particular so interesting are the number of people that you have, and sometimes you have various people on at the same time sharing ideas. And I think that interaction is really what makes your site so potent. I wanted to just chat with you about a couple of other ideas. The world, as we talk about on our shows, seems to be careening out of control. Not only in the financial markets, but we talk often about that. But in terms of a growing geopolitical hostility and a growing number of wars and terrorist activities, I mean, it's in the news all the time these days. Now, today, Pope Francis told churchgoers that Christmas this year is going to be a, quote, charade, because the whole world is at war. In other words, his idea is, why are we celebrating Christmas, which is the birth of Jesus, also known as the Prince of Peace? And I'd like to just quote Pope Francis here. He says, we are close to Christmas. There will be lights, there will be parties, bright trees, even nativity scenes all decked out, while the world continues to wage war. It's all a charade. The world has not understood the way of peace. The whole world is at war. Pope Francis, he says, war can be justified, so to speak, with many, many reasons. But when all the world is, as it is today, at war, piecemeal though that war may be, a little here, a little there is no justification. What shall remain in the wake of this war, in the midst of which we are living now? Pope Francis asked. And what shall remain? Ruins, thousands of children without education, so many innocent victims, and lots of money in the pockets of arms dealers, ends of quote. That's to quote Pope Francis earlier today. Now, Al, we are reminded in the book of Ecclesiastes that there is nothing new under the sun. But to me, I've lived 68 years and you about the same length of time. There does seem to be a trend away from civility and forgiveness towards a mood away from forgiveness and understanding and trying to get along towards a movement towards, I'd say, disorder, chaos, and war. Yesterday you and I, we were talking informally, and you read a few lines from a book titled Rediscovering Catholicism that attempted to explain why this is happening. Would you care to share maybe a little bit of what that book's about? We have 2 minutes, Al.
Well, the book has, thanks, Jay. Well, the book doesn't really focus necessarily on Catholicism. It focuses on just being a good person, and it focuses on Christianity. The author brings out something that I think is very interesting when he says that, what people are looking for today, they are completely inundated with events like the tragedy that occurred in Tunisia today, like the Russian plane that was shot down just recently, yesterday, et cetera, the tragedy in Paris. They are absolutely inundated with bad news. And what the author stresses here is we have to, rather than argue with people, we have to show by example how we really feel about all of this. I put an addendum I want to say onto what you just read, Jay. I said, I posted it on the site, and I said I would have to add that if the Pope's comment and the opinion of the free world begin to galvanize, resulting in action, this would actually be a blessing in disguise. And I firmly believe that. I know you and I talked about that off air, if I'm not mistaken. What I found interesting, Jay, I got a number of comments on this, and one of our listeners actually said, Rush Limbaugh is right. The Pope is a Marxist. I find that to be an absolutely ridiculously ignorant statement, for lack of better terms.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Al.
No, that's right. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're just about out of time here. I would say that certainly, the point is that maybe he's a Marxist from the inside out. In other words, we are supposed to love and care for those around us. It's not something that's supposed to be forced on us. And I think if we could live our lives that way, taking care of our families and those around us, we would need a lot less government.